friends, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Sophia. This is Sophia Reads Everything, where I cover book content, thrifting, physical media, and how it always comes back to more books. So I shared in a previous video that I would give you guys my annotation tips and how I do themed TBR lists for every month of the year. So it's much easier for me to pick books to read as a mood reader and actually complete the list. So there's a lot to cover, okay? So just grab something cozy and sweet, a drink, maybe some water, sit down and relax, because I'm covering annotating, I'm covering my Kindle most recent downloads, I'm covering Riley Sager, one of the authors who I will be seeing in August, and I'm also covering themed reading. So what I would like to do actually is start with themed reading, because everything else is a little bit more nitty-gritty. It will take a little bit longer. Now, first and foremost, if you're neurodivergent like I am, get a reading journal, okay? I have Goodreads, I have Fable, I have all the social medias, and there's nothing better than a journal as far as my experience with ADHD, PTSD, major depressive disorders. You need to log what you're either enjoying, disliking, and this is separate from annotating, okay? This is just little blurbs, my library receipts, little blurbs, notes about what I'm reading, what pages, quotes, what is shocking me, okay? And this is one way to actually be able to summarize themes, key points, plot twists, quotations without ruining your book. If you are that person who does not want to mark up a book, you don't like a cracked spine, you don't fold the pages, you can go to Five Below. You can go to the Dollar Tree. You can go to Walmart. You can do it on your phone, on your notes app for free. So I highly recommend getting a reading journal if you are a reader. And it just helps, especially if you read a lot of books like I do in a short amount of time, to just stay organized. Now, let's get into the themed reading, okay? I'm going to show you guys an example here of what I mean. Once I get to, look, this has just been like a year of use, and I'm already almost done with this journal here. So, okay, these are my book club picks for the rest of the year. Here we go. Bum, bum, bum. NetGalley books that I need to read. And almost there, guys. Almost there. Okay, at the back of my journal, I have monthly ideas of titles and themes circled. So for example, August, my theme is going to be villains in literature, or just in books in general. So there are a lot of themes here, but for some examples, I have Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Kavanaugh, Pecking, Duck, and Cover by Vivian Chien, The Divorce by Frida McFadden, and then I have Field Guides, what is it called? Field Guide for the Formerly Villainous, and the Apprentice to the Villain series, because I have not read those yet. So it's just a theme that makes it fun to give you a more smaller pool to select from. It really helps narrow down your choice while still giving you freedom of choice within this little like mini pool or subgenre. Now, for example, September, I have Serial Killer September. So October is going to just be Stephen King, which if you guys are new to my channel, I have been working through all of the Stephen King books, but also I'm doing a Goosebumps read and watch series as well. So it's just all of the horror, both cozy and otherwise. November is going to be Naughty November, where I do dark romance. And then December is just all like Yule and Christmas themed books, whether it be horror, dark romance, contemporary romance, lit fic, classics, all of it. So if you are like me, your TBR is just never ending. And obviously you have the rest of your life to live. So it's not a bad thing, but it can feel overwhelming. I myself have almost like 4,000 books on my like logged TBR on Goodreads. And it does make it easy to search for a title that I recognize or I might hear in a conversation and I see that it's on my want to read list. But you almost have to take it a step further and be proactive and go through this entire list and make sure that your top reads for TBR are written somewhere other than just, you know, a Goodreads account, because it will get lost amongst the constant ads to TBR, add to my want to read list, you know, on Fable, add this to another book that I need to read. It'll get lost. So I've tried this method and it really helps me to not only stay current, but also to have fun with reading, and it doesn't feel so much like a chore or a task or a job, and it's fun. So I have shared this. I didn't clock this, okay? Like I didn't come up with this. This wasn't some master plan. I'm sure I've seen, you know, plenty of inspiration on Pinterest and Instagram for Bookstagram, but for the most part, this is how I do it and it works. So I'm sharing this with you guys. If you struggle to pick a read, if you are a mood reader and you can never make up your mind, think about sitting down, make a list for each month, and you can add to it or you can cross stuff out. It's not a contract that you're making with yourself. It's just ideas that you can pull from without having to look at your bookshelves if you're like me and I have books everywhere in my house. It can feel overwhelming. So that's what I like to do, and it works really well. And then you can also look into, you know, new releases as well as maybe some old reads within the genre, and it's just easy to just kind of lump them all up together, and it's more fun in my opinion. And if you care about reviewing books like I do, it's actually better to do it this way, because what you're doing is you're taking a collective of similar works and you're reading them back to back to back, and it's enjoyable because it's the whatever you chose, but it's still connected in some way that makes it better as a comparing mechanism to give more justifiable book reviews, because you're not just pulling random willy-nilly. Like, let's say, for example, you just read a really thick classic like War and Peace by Tolstoy, and now you're like, oh my gosh, you know, I just need something fun and woohoo to read, and you end up reading some smutty book, and for some reason your smutty book is now a 5-star read and your Tolstoy was like a 3. And while you're justified in how you feel, you probably shouldn't be doing that, because you did not either read War and Peace at a time where it was more suited to your interest, or you needed the palate cleanser because of how you felt after the book and you didn't take the right time to process such a thick read, that the palate cleanser just felt like so fluffy reality TV entertaining that it's a 5-star because you were so engrossed in anything other than the effort that the previous book took. So I hope that's making sense. This, I feel, gives you a better opportunity to figure out the authors that you like within the subgenres or within the themes. And it also gives you a better chance to give more in-depth reviews, maybe a little bit more justifiable reviews, because you can say, look, not only did I read this book, I also read 4 or 5 others in the same genre or the same theme. And I can say, based off of my educated opinion, that these 2 were better or this one was worse or whatever. So there you go. Moving on. I have Kindle e-reads to share with you guys. I try to do this, you know, every couple of weeks, similar to my library haul videos. Every couple of weeks on Mondays, we go to the library, return our stack, and I share with you guys the new library books haul video, just showing you what I picked and why. And this is kind of similar. So every couple of weeks, I like to share my updated Kindle e-downloads. This is a 10th generation Kindle Paperwhite, and I've shared this before, but I do not buy something new unless what I have currently is broken or stolen from me. I'm just not buying an updated version. I'm not buying a Kobo. I'm not spending any money, because I already spend too much as it is on thrifting for books and on bookstores, anything book related. So no, I'm not spending even more. So I'm going to share with you guys, I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books since my last video. I lied. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now I will say this, in my own self-defense, I will only download a Kindle ebook if it's on sale. And I get Kindle points. So for every certain amount of Kindle points you collect, you get like a $3 reward to your next ebook. So I recommend ebooks if you cannot access via the library, Libby, Hoopla, for whatever reason. If you just can't wait, or if you see a good deal, fine. I'm not judging. That's how I am. But I like to wait a couple months to see the feedback before just pre-order. I'm not a pre-order girly. Unless I have a vetted author and it's a series that I have become invested in, I'm not pre-ordering the book. I just don't care who wrote it. I'm not doing that. I'm going to use my library access and wait my turn to either audiobook it or read it or download it, and then I can see if it's for me. Because I cannot tell you how much money is wasted, even when you thrift like I do, on books that you see on BookTok or BookTube or Bookstagram and you think, oh, this is definitely marketed for me. It's a gimmick, bro. Of course it's marketed for me. That's how they get you. So I firmly stand on using your public library, Hoopla, Libby apps, your free Audible credit, whatever, to vet the book first before you purchase it to put it on your shelf. I am learning the hard way. I have so many filled shelves now that I'm slowly kind of unhauling to local little libraries and figuring out, okay, have I outgrown this? Do I want to keep this? Etc. Anyways, moving on. The books that I have downloaded in the last 10 days. Here we go. Now, obviously, this is a 10th generation, okay? So it's black and gray. The image is small. Bear with me, okay? First, we have The Last Time We Drown by Saratoga Schaefer. And I do have her arc of 1,000 Monstrous Forms. After reading Tradwife by Saratoga Schaefer, I was like hooked, literally. I felt so entranced. I felt understood in some aspects. I felt horrified in others, and that's just what makes a good book, in my opinion. The book has to be entertaining, but it also has to have enough symbolism. It has to have enough message behind the madness for me to say, okay, yes, it's a good book. Because some books are just reality TV and writing, and that's fine. It's okay to like those books, the monster smut that I read and the paranormal romance, some of it's just for kicks and giggles, but it's never going to be a 5-star good book when you compare it to more heavier, thought out books. And that's fine. It's okay. It's okay to like them both, and it's okay to feel like they're both good, but there is a difference, in my opinion, when you look at writing style, because I don't feel like a lot of romance, especially smutty books in general, have certain writing style that's really differential to the authors. Like, it all just feels the same. It's the character names that change, or it's the setting that might change, but it all still feels like it's written the same way. Cut, copy, paste, So when I read Tradwife, I just was like jolted, and I immediately applied for a NetGalley arc of 1,000 Monstrous Forms, and I am loving it so far. And again, I do themed reading, so I do have themed for July as well as NetGalley arcs. I'm doing my best to get through all the NetGalley arcs. If you're not familiar, NetGalley is one of the many opportunities to get early access based off of your profile and your social medias, to read new releases before the masses get them. ARC is obviously like an early release copy of the book. So I saw that she had posted on Instagram that she was doing a limited time only discount on The Last Time We Drowned. So yeah, I spent $1.99. Heck yeah, I'm so excited. And this lets me kind of into her backlog of earlier writing, so I can do a comparison because I just love to do that. Next we have Intemperance. It's like a swan cover by Sonora Ja, I think is how you say her name. And shout out to Ali Do Is Read on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, all the things, because when she was describing this book, I just thought, okay, yes, this is intriguing. It does provide some like cultural awareness, some ageism awareness. It's like a romantic kind of story about this elderly woman, or a later in her life woman who does decide she does want to get married, but she takes the more cultural opportunity that's usually for young women to cast out this information that they're looking to be wed, and then suitors from all around come and compete for the hand in marriage of this girl. Now she is like 55 years old in this story, and it's just so interesting to hear the commentary, the community's views on this historical cultural process, but because of her age and circumstances, how people's opinion changes because of that. Next we have Chasing the Boogeyman by Richard Chismar, and Halloween's coming. Okay, it was another deal that I saw, top rated, over 4 stars. It's giving spooky ooky. Stephen King left a blurb. I don't remember what it was, but I just said download. I got my 9 points, my Kindle rewards, and I'm excited to read it. I'm really becoming a horror girly, and I'm okay with that. I'm really like obsessing over this genre, and also like beating myself with a stick about like how I put it off for this long. I started in more classic lit gothic as a kid, and I just kind of left it there and kind of jumped into all these other genres of reading. But now that I'm back and there's so much coming out in horror that's good versus other genres where publishers are just printing whatever, which we can talk about that later. No shade, but I'm kind of over it. So I feel like there are more adult themes. There's much more symbolism in horror as well, and there's more to pick apart, which I love to do as a reader. So that just sounded interesting to me. Next we have How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates by Shaylee Thompson. I don't know if you can see that cover. It's like her hand on a stopwatch with her extra long almond nails, and it's like bleeding. And the cover called to me. I really love the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days with Matthew McConaughey. And so it was kind of like a fun twist of that, but make it kind of like silly slasher horror cozy. Can you put all those together? I don't know, but it just seems like a good read. And I have my themes, bing, 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 which are villains and Naughty November. So that's going to fit somewhere. Next, we have a more like high fantasy dragon read called Dragon Mage by M.L. Spencer. I don't know if you can see. I'm just going to keep doing this, so just go with it, okay? This is the first book in a series. It's about, again, this warlock, essentially. This kid's got magic. No one else does. There's a competition to get a dragon, okay? That's all I know. That's all I need to know. Sold. Sign me up. Hopefully it's good. It's got good reviews, and I'm kind of sick of this romantasy regurgitation, and so I'm leaning a little bit more towards epic fantasy, high fantasy, dark fantasy, old vintage fantasy, anything else, because there's so much more character depth. There's so much more with plot points that really push the story forward, and it's not having anything to do with steamy scenes that are open door and ridiculously placed in the storyline. So am I a little triggered? Yes, but I'm just so tired of these ridiculous smut scenes. For example, Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I really loved the idea, the concepts, you know, the way that the story was written. The first, you know, 30% had me. And then here we go again, like stupid girl tripping over herself. But at the beginning of the book, she's kicking ass. She's wielding swords and standing up for what she knows to be right. And she just doesn't give a crap. And now one hot dude shows up and she's like, I can't. It makes me want to throw up. Now, my husband also read that book, and we both have Brimstone, and I swear, if Brimstone, if it's better, maybe I'll give Quicksilver like a 2.75, but I think I gave that book a 2. Just because I'm so invested with anything medieval, anything vampires, anything, you know, witchy, alchemy vibes, and it just let me down. And it let me down because you present this character to be one way at the beginning, and instead of having like character growth, she just lowers and lowers herself throughout the story, in my opinion, based off of her decision making. It's like she started off so fabulous, and I don't know what the F happened. So I'm hoping Brimstone is better. If you've read Brimstone and you had similar feelings to me about Quicksilver, which I liked Quicksilver, I just really was getting annoyed with this ridiculous romantic relationship and the unnecessary and completely poorly timed sexual moments in the book. Not necessary. Move it along. Really repetitive, way too long of a book. If you feel similar to me and you did read Brimstone and you enjoyed it more, let me know, because I'm about done with this genre of like romantasy. I can't handle it. Okay, can you tell I'm triggered? Okay, moving on. Now we do have Craving Venom by S.C. Arlette, and this is a more steamy book. And it's giving dark romance, and I can't remember much else, but I know it sounded good, and I know it was on sale. So after that, we have House of Mirth by Edith Wharton. This is more of a classic. It also popped up as like a gothic recommendation, and I've not read it yet. So I'm doing my best to dive deep into horror and gothic again, and to really just read through all of these like major must reads. We also have The Horror, which I think is a folk horror by David Sodergren. And it's this really wild cover of like this guy who looks like he's been electrocuted by a million bolts. And it's just like, ah! And it's crazy. But I'm finding out that I really do like folk horror. So I had to get that one. And then we have Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth. And it's obviously like any type of mother horror I'm reading. And that's just what it is. If you've got mommy issues and daddy issues, we can be friends. And last but not least, we have Lapvona by Otesha Moshfegh. And I did read my year of Rest and Relaxation. It's over there. And it blew me away until the last 20%, and then I just felt let down. But I still liked it enough. I felt like it was very much kind of unhinged woman vibes, but it also touched a little bit on like pharmaceutical companies, mental health services, and that is my like bread and butter. So I did enjoy that, and like I think what the author was trying to do with the story. But I'm curious about Lapvona because I've seen mixed reviews, and if there's one thing about me, I'm reading whatever book has mixed reviews. That's for sure. And you know, I don't want to be left out. I want to be able to formulate my own opinion, and so that's just what that is. Okay, Kindle, done. Should we do annotating, or should we jump in to Riley Sager? Actually, I think I'm going to throw a curveball. So this is the only book that I bought in the last 10 days that was not an ebook for under $3.99. This is Dungeon Crawler Carl. Do I have the Kindle version? Yes. But there's just something about owning a paperback. I just love a good paperback. I love to hold it. You know, I love to be so pompous with it out in public. I took it to the pool. I read it on my patio. And you know what? focus. I don't know if I'm going to make it through all of these books. There are so many books in this series, okay? But I will say this. Evil Dead vibes, funny, cozy gaming vibes, fantasy dungeons. I love it all. So I feel like book 1 will be a hit for me, okay? Am I going to read all 6 or 7 books in the next 3 months? Probably not. I'm just letting you know right now. We keep it real over here, and I just can't promise that. I'm already behind on Jungwine. I'm behind on Red Rising. I'm still on Golden Sun. Like, I've just got a lot going on. But I'm going to read the back of this to you guys. I feel like this book is going to be an entry point for a lot of women into these more kind of quirky comedy sci-fi books, and also like nerdy books. And when I say nerdy, I mean like your husband's brother who like games 24/7 and probably plays D&D. Like, he probably has a whole backlist of books to read, and this is going to be your entry point into being best buddies with that guy. So this says, the apocalypse will be televised. It says, you know what's worse than breaking up with your girlfriend? Being stuck with her prize-winning show cat. And you know what's worse than that? An alien invasion, the destruction of an all man-made structure on Earth, and systematic exploitation of all survivors for a sadistic intergalactic game show. That's what. Okay, so this is some kind of weird like alien TV Hunger Games vibe. It says, join Coast Guard vet Carl and his ex-girlfriend's cat, Princess Donut, as they try to survive the end of the world, or just get to the next level, in a video game-like trap-filled fantasy dungeon. A dungeon that's actually the set of a reality TV show with countless viewers across the galaxy. Exploding goblins, magical potions, deadly drug-dealing llamas. This ain't your ordinary game show. Okay, and I think based off of the art and stuff, I'm trying to avoid spoilers online, but everyone keeps saying like, he is daddy, he's running around in his underpants, he loves this cat even though he hates this cat. I don't know, crazy guy, right? Like, it's giving college bro vibes in some sense, but I'm just too much of a girly that can't be left out to not go ahead and just buy the first book. And if you know anything about me, I thrift a lot of books, and I just haven't been able to thrift this one, and it's been hard to even find the paperback book 1. So I know that I'm gonna like it, because I have spent months looking and looking and looking, and I finally just caved and paid like the $20 from Meijer. Actually, it was like $18 at Meijer. Meijer has book deals, guys. So I had to share that really quickly. Now we're gonna save the annotating for last, just because I do have a stack over there, but we're just going to talk about Riley Sager really quickly, because I am going to be seeing Riley Sager in just a week or two. I have been working through all of these books, most of which I have thrifted. A few I've bought new or been gifted at Christmas. And right now I'm currently on Lock Every Door. I left off on chapter 14 physically at the pool the other day, but then I picked up the audiobook, so I'm probably more like chapter 30 by now, and I'm really liking it. It is kind of like a retelling of Rosemary's Baby, which I did look it up because I thought this is Rosemary's Baby, and then when I looked it up I thought, okay, he was inspired to give like a modern take of Rosemary's Baby, because I was like, this is really not okay, you're stealing stories here, but it's fine. So yeah, I'm liking it so far. My favorites out of this lineup, we have Home Before Dark, The Last Time I Lied, Survive the Night, With a Vengeance, Final Girls, The Only One Left, and The House Across the Lake. I am still working through. I have not read Home Before Dark, The Last Time I Lied, and With a Vengeance, but I do have them on Libby. I have House Before Dark and The Last Time I Lied. So the only book I will probably not read in time for the event is With a Vengeance, and this is probably the most controversial release of his all of his books so far. This has been the one where I've seen the most hate. But I will have read all of these in time, and I will say, out of the ones I have read, my favorites are Final Girls, The Only One Left, and The House Across the Lake. So I'm going to share really quickly a little blurb about these, and you can choose to read the others if you would like. But from my understanding and my research, the two best-selling, most-selling copies are The House Across the Lake and The Only One Left. So, The House Across the Lake says, be careful what you watch for. Casey Fletcher, a recently widowed actress trying to escape a streak of bad press, has retreated to the peace and quiet of her family's lake house in Vermont. Armed with a pair of binoculars and several bottles of bourbon, she passes the time watching Tom and Karen Royce, this glamorous couple that lives across the lake. And they make for good viewing. A tech innovator, Tom is powerful, a formal model, and Catherine is gorgeous, obviously. And obviously that's all we know about Catherine. She's just a pretty lady. Like, okay. One day on the lake, Casey saves Catherine from drowning, and the two strike up a budding friendship. But the more they get to know each other and the longer Casey watches, it becomes clear that Catherine and Tom's marriage isn't as perfect as it appears. When Catherine suddenly vanishes, Casey immediately suspects Tom of foul play. What she doesn't realize is that there's more to the story than meets the eye, and that shocking secrets can lurk beneath the most placid of surfaces. When I tell you guys that, look, okay, let me get this book is already getting me excited, and I've read it like twice. If a book has more than one plot twist, it's got to be deliciously done. I nitpick everything. I'm the pickiest reader you're going to meet, and I usually hate more than one good plot twist in a book because it just seems unjustifiable, and the reasoning it doesn't tie back together to the overall theme or the message of the book well enough, and it ends up hurting the overall story more than it helps. But this book is an outlier. It is the exception, okay? The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager blew my mind. And it also tied together so many subgenres of thriller and mystery books that I love, and that I'm sure you love too if you read thriller books, that you will love this. You will eat it up. There's a reason that everyone says this is like the most page-turning psychological thriller with like ultimate structure of the storyline, because it just flows so well. Now, The Only One Left is a little bit more chaotic in its structure, but it is such a good gothic house kind of storytelling in modern day. So this one, The Only One Left, says, at 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope, stabbed her father with a knife, took her mother's happy life. It wasn't me, Lenora said, but she's the only one not dead. Okay, there's this like famous song that like these kids know because of this girl who had this unfortunate family horrific incident, right? And she's the only one left now. Now, it says, now reduced to a schoolyard chant, the Hope family murders shocked the Maine coast one bloody night in 1929. While most people assume 17-year-old Lenora was responsible, the police were never able to prove it. Other than her denial after the killings, she has never spoken publicly about that night, nor has she set foot outside Hope's End, the cliffside mansion where the massacre occurred. It's now 1983, so we have like a time hop here, but it's done well. I really hate time hopping where it's just constant, so if you're that way too, don't worry, I got you. It's now 1983, and home health aide Kit McDeer arrives at a decaying Hope End to care for Lenora after her previous nurse fled in the middle of the night. In her 70s and confined to a wheelchair, Lenora was rendered mute by a series of strokes and can only communicate with Kit by tapping out sentences on an old typewriter. One night, Lenora uses it to make a tantalizing offer. I want to tell you everything. Ding! Oh, you know I'm staying up late. You know I'm working overtime and I'm not getting paid for it because I gotta know what she wants to tell me. As Kit helps Lenora write about the events leading to the Hope family massacre, it becomes clear that there's more to the tale than people know. But what new details about her predecessor's departure come to light? But when new details come to light, Kit starts to suspect Lenora might not be telling the complete truth, and that the seemingly harmless woman in her care could be far more dangerous than she thought. Oh my God, it's so good, you guys. It is a little bit more like choppy, but in like Widow's Bay choppy. You know what I'm saying? Like it all comes together, but there are moments where I'm like, I know this will tie in, but what the heck just happened? It's so good. It's so good. And I also felt so immersed, and I really connected with Kit. And I also felt like the twists in this book were so well done. Like crescendos. It's so good. So there's a reason these two are the top selling of Riley Sager's books. And last but not least, Final Girls was enjoyable. This is an older Riley Sager book. I really enjoyed this one. And this follows a college student who went on a vacay with her friends, and she's the only one that came back. And so this shows, it starts off with her living as best a life she can after the fact, trying to recover, taking her medication, baking, like she's doing all these things she's trying to do. She doesn't want to be victimized, but she doesn't want to be in the public eye either. She just wants to live a life as best she can, but she's not actually really dealing with the trauma either. And so she has like a almost fiance, like they're together, but they're like riding that line before making like the full-blown commitment, right? So they're doing okay until someone shows up. And someone shows up who isn't expected to, and I'm trying not to spoil the book, but basically her facade of trying to keep it together slowly cracks, right? Her relationship is put to the test. And some of the final girls, some of which who were unalived and others who survived and escaped and cut ties and just tried to go out and live their best life, are now showing up unalived now. So this says, now Quincy is doing well, maybe thanks to her Xanax prescription. She has a caring fiance. She has a therapeutic presence in Coop, this police officer who saved her life forever ago. And her memory just will not allow her to dig back into the deep depths of the trauma to collect any more information to tie up these loose ends, right? Which is usually the pressure that survivors do feel, to be able to just recollect all of these details that could potentially get whoever is at fault for committing the crime behind bars. And it's a lot of pressure. So she's unable to recollect these details. And now, with the past being in the past, whether it's by choice or not, one of these final girls is now found unalive, and the police officer is asking questions again, and one of the final girls kind of shows back up and also is like trying to figure out what's going on. Are they next? Like, we don't know. It says that when new details about this new death come to light, Quincy's life becomes a race against time as she tries to unravel Sam's truth from her lies and remember what really happened at Pine Cottage. So basically, it's messy. There's drama. It really felt like Frida McFadden-y. So if you like Frida McFadden, I think you'll like Riley Sager as well. And you'll like Final Girls. And it really questions, trust in not only other people, but in the justice system and also in your relationships, and these figures that are in certain roles that are supposed to be protective. It does a lot, and it's done well. Like, I enjoyed it. Now, I will say I like the others more, but Final Girls is still in the top 3. So I'm very excited to go to the Riley Sager event. I will be doing another vlog style post like I did for Christina Lauren. And I'm also going to be seeing Rachel Harrison. Yes, that'll be a little bit of a fun detail that I'll share at the end of this video. Surprise, surprise. I'm going to be going to a Rachel Harrison author event as well at the end of August. Thanks to my mother-in-law for signing us up for another Wild Geese Bookshop book author meet and greet with the signed new release, and getting to hear all of the fun details as to why they wrote the book that they did and all that goes into that process. Okay, we made it. Thank you so much. I need a sip of water because my medication gives me dry mouth. Thank you. Okay. Before I dive into this, I do want to say that you do not have to have a lot of money to annotate your books. You also don't have to have any sort of higher educational background either. And if you feel like you need a push, go watch Good Will Hunting and then come back. You will feel empowered. Now, I don't recommend falling for this gimmicky, buying all these different color tabs, seasonal tabs, tabs that match the book. It doesn't matter, okay? And honestly, sometimes when I see these content creators showing their books and it's just tabs on every single page, I'm like, you didn't do this right. This is for the video content. This has nothing to do with the book message. You were just highlighting and tabbing whatever the heck you wanted. And they're entitled to do so, but it really bothers me as someone who likes to do things according to the way that it was first made to be used, especially with like trying to dissect a book. And so this is going to be my very simple way to annotate books, and I'm going to share it with you guys because it's very simple. You're going to see people out there that's telling you you need every color in the rainbow and you need to look for 50 things. No, it's not supposed to be that strenuous of a task, okay? When you annotate your books, here's what you should look for: symbolism. And while there could be all different kinds of symbolism, don't overthink this. Each person is going to have a different reading experience, and each person is going to annotate their books differently. So you, as your own person, need to read the book from your perspective and look for symbolism that you think ties to the overall theme or message that the book is trying to share, okay? And sometimes when you annotate, you're going to go through a chapter or two and then go back and be like, oh, actually, let me go back a chapter. I remember this. This is connected, okay? That's normal. Do not expect to mark every page in the book from page 1. That just doesn't make sense. Look for themes. So, for example, motherhood, grief, war, poverty, racism. Like there's just so many different themes. And if you get confused, just Google, okay? Literary devices, plot, the setting. And you can also highlight any confusing elements or anything that you felt was odd or actually didn't tie in at all. Because those are some of my favorite things to not only look for myself or notice myself, but to hear other people notice as well, because you will see a connection to like how many people felt the same way. Okay, so that's it. That's all we're looking for, and I have examples of my books that I do plan to annotate that I'm going to share with you guys. So don't worry, there's a vast array here. Now, margins. A lot of people get confused, and I see people drawing smiley faces, and then I see people just drawing like flowers and trees and scenery settings, which is fine, but that's not annotating. You're being artistic with your detailing of the pages. That's not an annotation. Drawing stick figures is not annotating your book. Margins are usually for a summary, a definition, a reference, or like your understanding of what the author is saying. And then the right side is usually for what the author is trying to do here. And I'll get into that in a minute, but that's what margins are for. If you take up all of the space around the writing with just doodles, you're just doodling. That's all it is. Let's be real. Tabs. These are the only tabs I have, and they're not even opened, okay? Most of the time I don't use these because I think it's silly. And when you highlight the right way, you should be able to flip through very quickly and see the colors and stop. If you are highlighting so much that you need to tab every other page, you're doing it wrong, okay? So tabs are for, referencing the pages that have profound annotations. A lot of people will use tabs for quotes. A lot of people will use tabs for like the plot twist in a book. But I personally don't think you need to have 100 tabs sticking out of the side of your book. I don't get it. And on top of that, you're going to shelve it later. The tabs are going to get all bent and floppy anyways. Like just highlighters and an ink pen. That's really all you need. A highlighter, even a cheap highlighter and a pen. This is all you need to annotate a book. It's that simple. Everything else is fluff, okay? Now, color coding. I have 4 highlighters and I probably only use like 2 or 3 of the colors. But basically, the main highlighter color for me is yellow always. And it's going to be the most impactful sentences or moments in the story, quotes. Okay, this is where it's at for me. Now, the pink or orange at times, depending on what I have. It's usually going to be important vocabulary to the text, symbolism. You know, the symbolism of a book is like what the greater message is behind this thing that either keeps reappearing or something that's personified and why. And then blue is usually character development or just shocking moments, twists, because these are going to be kind of like, they're important moments in a book, especially if you read books that are character driven like I do, if you care about character depth like I do, character analysis. And so for me, this is important. And then, you know, you can do the classic underlining of keywords, circle any unfamiliar word, right? Which can tie back to vocabulary. And then arrows to connect, okay? So like, let's say page 17, I find something and I highlight it and it's pink because it surprised me, or there's some serious symbolism here. And then I make it to like 4 or 5 more chapters and it connects again. I can go back and draw an arrow or mark the pages, and it just kind of helps me to see the main outlining of a book. It's not really necessary. It's just something I like to do. And then again, margins. Okay. So like a margin, we have one page, the left side of the page and the right side of the page. Okay. So when you do your margins, I don't really care where you put stuff. Okay. But it's usually left or right side. The left side is usually the summary side. Okay. Left side, summary side, right side, analysis side. Okay. Like it just makes me think of like the Titans movie where they're like playing football. But anyways, that's not here nor there. Left side is summary. What is the author saying? What are you taking away from this? And you're not writing in the margins on every page. You're writing this where you've highlighted or there's important quotes, and then you're going to summarize what you took away from that on the left side. Left side, summary side, okay? And then on the right side, we have the analysis. So what is the author trying to do here? Why did the author put this in here? What is the author trying to make you feel? What is the author trying to make you aware of? What is this connecting to in our society or in the political system at the time or whatever? And that's it. I mean, literally, that's it. It's not that difficult. And people who are telling you that you need all these supplies, that you need to sticky note and tab every page, they're liars. It's that simple. It's that simple, okay? I higher education here, and I scored top, especially for writing. I'm telling you right now, it's not needed, okay? You don't need it. Now let's get into the stack of books that I have that I would like to annotate. Some of these I've read, some of these I have not. Some of these are my favorites. Some of these are new. All of them have not been annotated at all. First, we have Homer's 2 books. These are actually popular right now. The Odyssey and the Iliad. And the Odyssey is the first novel with like the expression of a person's like inner thoughts, like in how their mind works. So very important for a reason. Whether or not the movie flops is not for me to care about. I care more about the books. And so for me, I read these in like my AP classes as a kid, but I have not. I grew up poor, okay? I didn't have a lot of books. I didn't have a lot of money to go out and do with whatever I wanted. So it's fun to be able to go back and revisit the books that I grew up reading in school and get my own copy of the editions that I like, which are mass market paperbacks for the most part for classics, and to be able to revisit and annotate. So that's why I got these. It has nothing to do with the upcoming movie release. I just really like the books, and I like, you know, and with the Iliad, with the Seas of Troy, the mythology, and this one with like the story of the Cyclops. I have these vivid memories. So I'm really excited to return to these, and I will share updated content later on about how I annotated all of these later on. Next, we have one of my favorite books of all time. It's really not a book so much as it is an epic. It is Beowulf. And I cannot tell you how many times I've read this book, and I still care about it. As you can see, like it's well used, but it's not tore up, okay? And this is an annotated version here, okay? So you can see historical tangent, okay? Irony, you know, religious commentary, the supernatural. There's just a lot in here, and it's fun to see over time how annotations may change, what meanings you might pick up on, or what you might decide aren't actually that important. So I love this book. I recommend it to everyone. It's just basically an epic poem about this man who just doesn't give up. These circumstances that continue, you know, despite his efforts. And it just makes you think of good and evil. There's a lot of like religious commentary in this book as well. You know, what does it mean to be victorious in battle? What is the cost? You know, with one's character, life and death. And, you know, obviously this great warrior, you know, he cares about his legacy. It's just so freaking good. So good. Next, we have The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. I did talk about this in my other video, so I'm not going to jabber on a bit about this too much, but I haven't read it. I'm eager to annotate it. I'm doing a read, watch, and review series. This is going to be a part of that. My husband's favorite book, The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas. I have not read this book. It is a classic. It's, you know, a timeless tale of adventure. The only thing that I have the only thing I've watched is the Mickey Mouse animated Three Musketeers. That's all of the understanding that I have, but it's saying that it's dramatic, it's poetic, it's romantic. D'Artagnan and Athos and Porthos and Aramis, and how they fight to maintain honor and respect of their queen, and you know, how it doesn't matter that they kind of come from this lesser background. So I'm very curious to see. This is a thick read. It's like 700 pages, but I am curious to see how I'm affected by the book and what I see as important or quotes that stand out to me. I did also talk about Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. This is a classic. I have not read it. Again, I've only seen an animated movie as a kid, and so I got this really beautiful edition, and I'm very excited to also look for the symbolism in this book, especially, and quotes especially. If you're curious about why, you can go back to the other video and kind of get a more in-depth understanding of some of the books that I chose and why. But next we have Anna Karenina. This is one of my favorite books by Tolstoy. I read War and Peace and I read Anna Karenina when I was like 17, and they both hit hard for me, but I haven't really revisited them since, and I'm 32 years old now. It's time, okay? I've lived a whole other life since then, so I'm really excited. I did thrift this copy of Tolstoy. This is like a Modern Library Classic edition, and it's also got like a reading group guide in the back, which I love books like that, especially because I host book club, and I love to have books just at the ready. But if you're not familiar, this is basically a famously well-known classic story of love and adultery, womanhood, motherhood, society. And it's really like, I don't even know how to explain how emotional it is. It's really a roller coaster, but and you guys know I don't condone cheating. I hate reading about cheating, especially as like a trope, especially with romance. This like second chance cheater trope, I hate it. But I love Anna Karenina. So the depths that this book reaches with the psyche and there's never justification for cheating, but you can see how it happens in the story, which I appreciate, because I hate when authors just dump in all of this madness and there's no reason to it. It's just to do it. And I'm not here for that. So this is like really like 19th century Russia, very atmospheric, very tumultuous, very romantic, very heartbreaking, very like, the book starts out with all of this like hope and love, and it just ends up becoming like hopeless. I definitely recommend that you read it though. Now, next we have Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I have not read this book, but this says, Cyrus Shams is a young man grappling with an inheritance of violence and loss. His mother's plane was shot down over the skies of the Persian Gulf in a senseless accident, and his father's life in America was circumscribed by his work killing chickens at a farm in the Midwest. Cyrus is a drunk, an addict, and a poet whose obsession with martyrs leads him to examine the mysteries of his past, toward an uncle who rode through Iranian battlefields dressed as the angel of death to inspire and comfort the dying, and toward his mother through a painting discovered in a Brooklyn art gallery that suggests she may not have been who or what she seemed. This is basically a story that is an ode to how people spend their lives in pursuit of a greater meaning to it all, right? Not only in understanding the trauma that someone might go through, but also in understanding life itself, religious aspects that they might have been brought up to uphold, in the artwork around them, the community that surrounds them, so this just sounded so interesting to me. It's not a very long read, and I felt like there was so much happening here, that it's a book that needs annotated, not only for me to be able to get as much out of it as possible, but just so that I can have true understanding, especially with all the different cultural aspects. So I want to do my due diligence here. Last but not least, we have The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. This is a brand new book, and it's 581 pages, and it's basically, a lot of people, when I talk about this book, they think of the little quick, like The Invisible Man, which is like the old classic about this like short horror story about this man who's in bandages. He's actually invisible. This is not that, okay? This is very heavy. This is like a rare novel about a black man's journey through Harlem in the Deep South, and it kind of shows how there are communities of, these men fighting in underground fight scenes, but then also men who also can elevate themselves within like communist rallying. And it also shows, it's written in a way that includes both white and black language. And that was very interesting to me. But the main character also doesn't have a name. Like, that just blew my mind. So naturally, I will be annotating this, diving deeper into this. But it just sounded intriguing. So that is all I have as far as annotation. I really appreciate you guys for being here. If you've listened this far, if you've supported my channel at all, I feel like we're friends. It's important to connect with other people. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're taking your medication, you're eating well, drinking water, getting out of the house, even just push yourself in some way. And I really would love to hear a book you enjoyed, a show you're watching, you know, something you're pushing yourself to do, because that's how we connect. So that's all I have for right now. I really appreciate you guys. I am working on my East of Eden read, watch, and review. I am going to be watching that VHS this weekend, so make sure you guys come back for more because I'm so excited for that series. I will chat with you guys later.